Last week on Not Just a Hat Rack, we made the wrestling news. We had an interview with Dijak, and it went really well, and I noticed it spread everywhere, all over the internet, which was pretty impressive because I always look at the wrestling news, and now I am wrestling news. But this week on Not Just a Hat Rack, we're going to talk about the past week or week and a half of WWE, and as well as my book is available in audiobook form, read by me. This is August 18th, 2026, and this is episode 12. Hold on to your hats. So first of all, I want to thank Dijak for giving us his time a few weeks back. Obviously, I recorded the interview a few weeks ago before the interview was posted. Did some editing and stuff like that, and it was a great talk and covered some stuff that I thought was fun and some obvious stuff that would just, was just regular banter. But the fact that it was picked up by wrestling news outlets, I was very surprised because we're just a little podcast that could, we're not trying to be huge or anything yet. I mean, maybe one day, but I figured getting a wrestling interview just because I wanted to talk to a wrestler, and Dijak's one of my favorite wrestlers, and he was available, so it worked out. So the fact that people actually picked up on it and spread it, and it got a lot of views, and brought a lot of eyes to the channel, that was just a bonus because I did it for us, I did it for fun. And, if we benefit from it, then it's always a bonus. So the podcast so far has been very wrestling-centric, except for the odd, try and slip things in there. So we might try and structure things where we have wrestling talk and something else talk, but we might split it into 2 different days. So that might be something to look forward to, or, maybe we'll put a poll out there and see what people really want. If they really want wrestling, then we'll just always talk about wrestling. Just that. Getting sick of talking about Roman Reigns being the last thing on the show. So on SmackDown, they had Nick Aldis in the ring already, and he called out Chelsea Green. And obviously everyone knew that she had hurt her orbital bone the week before, and so, which was a legit injury, even though the injury this past week on SmackDown did not look legit. They really played it up with the, how was it worded? Obvious makeup, I think it was the term. So it was very shiny. It was very not bruised looking. But she has a tiny bruise, but they just, they had to make it look really bad so that other people, other than the people in the know, believed that it was legitimate enough that they would take the title off of her. And I figured the way they set it up, it wasn't going to lead there. Even though she said, she didn't want it to happen, but she still was ready to hand it over. But I like how they played it up with how her and Nick Aldis both at SummerSlam had huge moments, and she played on his emotions a bit, but still gave up the title and walked out of the ring until he said, you know what? Screw it. I'll give you 30 days, do what you got to do, be cleared, all that stuff. And then Gunther came out and did his stupid shit. So I thought we were going to get Chelsea versus Gunther, which would have been nice because Gunther obviously can't win any other title. So it's like, I'm going to go after the women's title. I don't know how to do a Gunther voice. Joker, can you do a Gunther voice?
No.
No, I want you to try to do one is what I'm saying.
Get sacred. I'm Gunther.
Okay, so Joker can't do a Gunther voice. We just confirmed. I was hoping someone was going to come out and oh no, they did at the end. After the Gunther Matt Cardona thing, Nia Jackson Lash Legend came out, and Nia was all like, and it was like, really? That's what we're gonna do with Chelsea? Oh, that's right. That's the other thing that happened on SmackDown. I only wrote down a few things because I'm trying to just kind of cover what I find interesting, not every little thing on the show. But Tiffany came out to help Chelsea with Nia and them. And as soon as it happened, because I knew they had the match with JC Jane later, it was announced. But as soon as Tiffany got beat up, I was like, there's the way out. She's going to lose the U.S. title. And it's because she wasn't 100%. And she helped Chelsea. So now we can build to that Tiffany-Chelsea feud. I think it's time to turn Tiffany heel. But at the same time, if Nia's still heel, I don't know, the whole Nia-Tiffany thing, if they ever fight again, it's like they did it for so long. And sure, it was like a year ago now, but it's like, I just don't want to see it again. And they have so many women on the roster on Raw and SmackDown, NXT, everywhere. They could spread it out. They don't have to always come back to that same thing. I know Rhea's hurt, and Jade could be doing stuff, but we've seen Jade and Tiffany a lot too. So Tiffany really kind of went through everybody last year when she was the champ, and now that she was U.S. champ, she's kind of gone through whoever was left. But except Blake Monroe and Julia are just hanging out backstage, doing segments for YouTube. And we don't get them on TV or even in matches. It's like, throw them in there. Like, there's just whoever's writing the women's wrestling is failing a little bit. But the fact that they put Chelsea as champion is great, and also like Chad Gable winning their all these people that are winning titles. It's kind of it's almost like now that Cena's done, Brock Lesnar's done, we just saw Rey Mysterio fight Chad Gable. Like, he's probably getting close to being done in his career, even though he can still fucking go after. Like, that was insane. That was an insane match. We'll talk about that when we get there. But there's a lot. I've thought about that watching that, and it's like there's a real changing of the guard coming, and there's a lot of guys in position. Like Sammy won a title for the first time. Guys in position to take those spots. Punk's gonna do his run. He's gonna fight Kevin Owens. He's gonna fight whoever, and then I think after his run with this will be his last title run. And hopefully Cody goes without the title for a while. Like I say, Drew McIntyre's above a title. These guys will eventually be there too. So hopefully when they get there, we'll actually, have new, fresh people as champions. Like even Gunther without a title is nice because he's just doing his shit. Even though like he's proven he's a champion, he can always come back to it. Seth and Roman, those guys, they've just been there. So it's like once it kind of gets past that, then we can move on. But the other thing on SmackDown that happened that I think it was either on SmackDown or Raw. Like I said, we didn't do any coverage last week, so it was within the last week and a half, 2 weeks. Jey Uso versus Solo Sikoa, and if Jey won, he would get to bring Solo to Roman, and if Solo won, he would be free from the bloodline, and they had to leave him alone. Figured easy win for Solo. Whatever's gonna happen, something's gonna happen, and Solo's gonna win. They decided not to do that. They had Jey Uso beat Solo, which means they had to bring him back to the bloodline. And then they set it all up for Raw last night, and it was going to be Roman at the end of the show, not wrestling, just being there, talking, doing things. The segment ended up being okay. It ended up being saved. But, Joker, what do you think about this decision? Not about Raw, but as far as SmackDown or whatever it was, that Jey Uso, the decision to have Jey beat Solo, before knowing what we got after, just after that match, did you feel like, great, we're doing this bloodline crap again, or was it more like, were you interested, or did you think it was a bad decision?
Honestly, it was a bad decision because you have Solo just recently turned babyface. Should have beat Jey, who's the heel, but I can see why they did it after the fact, with what we'll talk about with what happened on Raw.
It did make sense, but it didn't at the time because I just didn't want to see it. Solo needed, like, babyface Solo is great, and he's with LA Knight, so I mean I don't want them to be on the losing side. But like we'll cover on Raw, like it played out okay, kinda. Jay's been a little unhinged, but he's going through shit and stuff too. So the fact that he's even showing up for work right now is pretty impressive. So, but as far as I think that was the last match, I think I had to be on SmackDown. And I think it was last week. They said, well, it was last week or the week before. We had talked about it the week before. I think Rey Mysterio pulled Roman aside. Said, hey, I want to talk to you about something. And Roman's like, oh, I didn't even know you were general manager of AAA. And it's like, great. Do you know who the booker is? Like, Roman, pay attention. Like, I know you don't need to know. You're like, it's like below your pay grade. But they'd set up a tournament for all the Lucha Libres. Well, 2 that we know, or 3 that I don't know. It was like Penta and Rey Fenix and Dragon Lee, and then La Parca, El Hijo del Wagner, Dr. Jr., and the guy that Rey Fenix beat last night. So that's who it was. And it was like, and there's probably some other people, but it's like, I don't know. I get what they're doing because Triple Mania is coming up. They're in Mexico for Raw. That weekend they have SmackDown, Triple Mania, Raw in Mexico City. So they're having Roman defended against a luchador to bring all the, I think if having Raw in Mexico City is going to be sold out anyway. But I think they're going to be like justifying their ticket prices, like Roman's there, or maybe that's so they can raise the ticket prices because to go to AAA is probably decently priced. And they're like, hey, you want to go to AAA? It's like, $50 a seat. It's like, oh, you want to go to Raw? Yeah, that's minimum 1,000. It's like, excuse me, this is Mexico. What's that in pesos? But anyway, so we've set it up, and I think that the best way was I was posting on Twitter as I was watching. I think the best way this has to end with Penta versus Rey Fenix because they haven't really. I think they need to have that match before they do make them back into the Lucha Brothers tag team. Penta, they've got him away from the Intercontinental title for now. Rey Fenix has some title from AAA, Cruiserweight or something. So they need to bring them back. And that'd be great for having the tag scene because the tag scene sucks again. Like, I really am so confused. The women's division, the tag division, so many divisions suck. It's like how can you pay attention to half of what's going on and really shit the bed on the rest? I don't know. It's hard to watch, but they had been getting good. After SummerSlam, there was a really good setup on the Raw. There was stuff going forward, I mean, like we're gonna get Cody Randy We're going to get Oba Braun. All these things are coming. But at Sunday night's main event, like, it's weird. But there's no PLE in September, so I guess we're getting no WrestlePalooza this year. But the fact that they're setting up big matches, and like I said, they're putting people in place where, like, Chad and Rey Mysterio had a great match. Like Chelsea Green's the women's champion. Like there's the changing of the guard feels like it's coming, and I feel like going into, it's the weirdest time too, because going into a Saudi Arabia WrestleMania, you figure you would want every old person possible to be there, even Undertaker and Yokozuna if possible. But yeah, Mexican tournament for Roman. I mean, I understand why they're doing it. It was a little quiet last night when Rey Fenix fought El Pascal, I think his name was, something like that. And Dragon Lee beat El Hijo Dr. Wagner Jr. And I don't know. In AAA, they're probably excited because La Parca beat the one guy. And it's like, but here, they're probably just like, oh, so when it comes to that night, it's like, it'll be great in the crowd. People excited that, hopefully, I'm hoping it's going to be Penta versus Roman. And obviously, Roman's not going to lose the title. He's got to lose it to LA Knight at Money in the Bank. I mean, come on. That'll be in October. So, but Joker, what do you think? What's your thoughts of the Mexican Lucha Libre tournament to face Roman Reigns in Mexico City?
I mean, it's definitely there for, one, to get more people into the show, but I think it is to show their investors and show people that they can sell out stadiums and places in Mexico and the Latin American areas to possibly get a better TV deal potentially for AAA in the future. That's what I believe.
Makes sense.
But like
justifying
LA,
prices, it's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is good, but I think the American audience doesn't really care.
No, like this is not for us. This is for.
Yeah, whoa! What do you mean us? I'm not American. You take that back.
Okay, the casual viewers. This is not for us. That's what I meant.
Whoa! Joker, I'm not a fucking casual viewer. You're a casual viewer. You're a casual viewing American. I am a hardcore watching Canadian. We are very different fucking animals here.
No, what I'm trying to say is for the casual person that doesn't watch the luchador style they have in AAA, it gives them a opportunity to show what they can do. But Roman's going to win. Roman's not going to lose. But
he's got to lose to LA Knight.
He's going to make whoever he faces look decent, even in defeat.
Well,
but then we're gonna have Roman again on our screen, but at least this time he'll be in a wrestling role.
That's true. He's going to be wrestling on that night on a Raw. He hasn't wrestled on Raw since the Netflix debut, I don't think. Yeah, no, it's and it's good for what they're doing. They are trying to make AAA, and I mean they're going to get their money's worth. Undertaker's doing something down there. So, and I actually saw a GIF that was pretty funny showing Dominic Mysterio showing up for AAA, and it was from the end of the first Scary Movie when they parody Usual Suspects, and Doofy's walking, and he's walking like he's old Doofy, but then he walks straight and slicks his hair and lights a cigarette, and he's all the cool guy now. It's like they just had Dom lose on Raw to, I can't remember who it was now, but it was just like he just lost clean. I think it was Dragon Lee or something. It was just like he just lost, and it was like, okay, Dom is 0-12 since June. And then he shows up on AAA a couple days ago, and he walks in, and he looks all badass, and he fights with frickin' El Grande Americano, and it was like, yep, that's a fair assessment of Dominic on Raw compared to AAA. So he should just be down in AAA all the time. And that's the other thing. They announced Damian Priest. He went down there, I'm in AAA now, and it's like he showed up once, and he lost the tag titles, but now it's like, so is that because he's going to go there? I don't know. I didn't even know they lost the tag titles. I'll be perfectly honest. I skipped that triple threat tag team match because I just don't care to see the War Raiders. I'm tired of seeing the MFTs, and Damian Priest and R-Truth just show up and beat everybody every week. So I just didn't care to watch it. So I heard like days later that the MFTs won, and it was like, they're like, yeah, because Haku's there, and they want to make it a big deal. It's like, but the MFTs, it's like their third title reign. I think Tama Tonga had it once or twice, and Tala Tonga's first time maybe because they had the other guys that they all left, and Jeff Cobb's back in it in New Japan. So it's like, I don't know. The MFTs don't really like I said, nobody knows what they're doing with the tag division. I'm not saying I could do better. Well, I can do better. I can't do great, but I know I can do at least a little bit better, right? But the Mexican tournament, as far as we say, like the Luchadores, it's showcasing things. we were watching the Rey Fenix match, and it was a little slow. I think the guy who was fighting was a little bit bigger. It was okay, but and the funny thing is, it was leading into, I think that was the second last match or whatever, and then we got the Chad Gable Rey Mysterio match, and as soon as it started, I was like, oh, there's like 45 minutes left in the show. I know this is the last match, but we're gonna get Roman at the end. But we'll come back to that because I was gonna mention as well before that. Liv Morgan finally has a feud because her Io Sky thing wasn't really a feud. Io beat her at Queen of the Ring and then said she wanted to fight her, so it was like, well, obviously they're going to build that match to SummerSlam, and for some reason had Io lose, and now Io just disappeared for a week. I think she was there last week and she helped Sol Ruka for a tag match, which I figured she would show up again tonight. Well, no, she had a match tonight, but Io could have shown up. That's what I mean. Io could have shown up tonight because if Stephanie came out, called out Liv, Judgment Day comes out, Becky comes out, everyone's fighting. It's 3-on-2, but the two kind of get a hand, and then they finally the three stand tall. It's like you feel like they're building that 3v3, and that's an interesting trio: Stephanie Vaquer, Io Sky, and Becky Lynch, or Sol Ruka, whoever you want to throw in there, right? And like Joker alluded to a few weeks ago, like that is kind of leading to a War Games thing, which is, I mean, that's in October, no, November, yeah. So it's like
November.
That's 3 months away, so it's a little early to be. But they can put the pieces in play now, where kind of who's on whose side. Like having Becky come out and being kind of, well, she is pretty much a babyface right now, and then her and Stephanie just get face to face, and everyone's saying all over the line, like, just kiss already, and it's like, well, I mean, like, I'm not saying nobody wants to see that. I'm just saying the lip lock is not a wrestling hold. But Liv Morgan comes out, and it's all about Stephanie and Becky. Because they came out at the same night. Becky came back after a while not being around. Stephanie came back for the first time since WrestleMania. And Liv's there with the title saying all this shit. But it's like, yeah, like I said, Liv's not the main character in her first real feud since WrestleMania. It's all about the other two. So they might do a triple threat. Or they might do Stephanie versus Becky to see who wins, faces Liv. And whatever happens, I think they're just going to... I think because of Stephanie's injuries earlier this year, she wasn't able to... Like, they wanted to do more with her before, and then leading up to WrestleMania and stuff, she had less matches. And so after WrestleMania, it was like they had to kind of put the title on someone else. And why not Liv? Because she can handle whatever she needed. And so I think they might just be building back to get the title back on Stephanie. And then, obviously, she can feud with Becky, or we can have Liv-Becky feud with no title, or whatever you want to do. So they're at least doing something now. But they had to bring back two people that weren't on TV for a while to literally make something happen with Liv Morgan, where they had Io, they had all these people there. Like Roxanne should be there to break it. Raquel had to win the Intercontinental title, so now she doesn't care to try and break up with Liv. So seeing how they're doing it, just complaining a lot about the booking and stuff. So hopefully we get somewhere. But then at the same time, what does Liv do if she loses the title? She's just not going to care to try and get it back. Do you move her to SmackDown? Do you I don't know. Do you finally break up the goddamn Judgment Day? And where the hell's Drew McIntyre? But besides all that, obviously, we miss Drew McIntyre, we miss Rhea Ripley, we miss everybody that matters on TV. So, obviously they're doing well. I mean, Rhea's recovering and Drew's being Drew. But Joker, what do you think about Liv Morgan and how they're handling the women's division on Raw as far as, the crap we've been seeing?
I mean, it's literally... They do something good because your champion is the third most important person now, and that's a bad thing. Like,
it's like the Dolph Ziggler position. Was it Dolph Ziggler that had that kind of thing before? I think you or T Dragon might have told me that. He was the champion, but
like the Dolph Ziggler, Daniel Bryan situation, kind of, because they were the least important champions in multiple feuds, but they still ended up winning. But like when you book your champions like that, you kind of give the audience no reason to really care about them or want to tune in and see them on your television.
Yeah.
You want to try and build your champion as much as possible. But I don't ever think they're going to break up the Judgment Day. And if they do, it'll be a little too late. Then what do you do next? You essentially have Raquel being the big, bad, brand new female version of Kevin Nash. Liv Morgan by herself is meh. She's not the Shawn Michaels of the group. Roxanne Yeah, if you split her off on her own, I don't really know what they're gonna do with her.
Well,
Probably not
Roxanne
anything.
can
Send her
Roxanne can
down
do
to
a
main
lot.
event.
Roxanne can do a lot.
I
She's
know
she's
she
she's a proven
can.
entity. So I mean, you just need a feud for her, and that's what you would do. You would have them feud against each other. That's going to build to a triple threat one day. You're going to get that triple threat probably by Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, something like that, and that's when the official breakup will be. But then that's it, like you say. What do you do after that? You can break them up. You can have them fight, but do they feud now for the rest of the year? Do they go back and forth? Is it one against the other? Like I mean, unless two of them stay together, like it's just at least there's
It,
options once they do it. Right now, it's so stale that yeah, it's a little tired of seeing it.
I just don't want any member of the Judgment Day, after you split them up, to kind of get the Julia treatment. Because they're not really doing that much with Julia. They're
Yeah,
jobbing her out.
yeah. What happened to Kiana James too? Like, it's like, hey, this
Exactly.
tag team that was a big deal that broke up that no one cared about because we were in Italy and it only mattered because Julia was from Italy. And then, by the way, she talks to Blake Monroe backstage, who hasn't really had a match yet. Like, Blake
She's
Monroe's
still
coming.
coming, by the way. Yep.
No, she's here now. Just backstage interviews that don't show up on TV, even though SmackDown's gonna maybe go back to 3 hours. I heard again. Like, make up your mind. Like, I guess if TV scheduling or something like that, but the 3 hour show never works. They just make the shitty segments longer. They don't add segments. They don't put shit on TV. There was even stuff last night, like on Raw, where Lyra Valkyria came out with her really cool new heel music and entrance during the commercial. Soul Ruka came out, and then the commercial break, and then they came back, and Lyra was in the ring, and you got to hear the tail end of it. And I was like, that's a badass song, and she's a new heel. Like, you don't want to focus on, like, let us hear that. Like, I guess, the crowd gets to hear it and stuff. And speaking of which, next week I get to go to a house show on the 23rd. So I'm excited to. I haven't been to a house show. I haven't done house shows forever. The last house show I went to was over 20 years ago. Like, I've been to SmackDown and Raw here and there, but so I'm very excited to see how they do house shows now. And so I'm gonna try and get some good footage and pictures, and maybe next week we'll talk about the experience of, the good old house show. So, but they did it again, Joker. They're watching I know they're watching. I know Triple H watches this religiously, like me and you watch NXT, and so they figured, you know what? What did we do last week? What do we do every week? What did we do at Saturday night's main event where it's always wrestling and it's just match, 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 match? All right, let's bring Roman out to do something that's not wrestling. Chad Gable and Rey Mysterio had an amazing match. And like I said a little earlier, like the match was so good, and I was watching and I knew it wasn't last because I knew they still had that segment. But it was such a good match, and Chad looked so good, Ray looked really good, and the way they did the finish with Chad keeping the ankle lock on, Ray trying to roll out, the 619 in the corner against the turnbuckle, like there was a lot of stuff I thought was like a freaking hats off. Obviously, not right now. I've got my headset on, and we're not just a hat rack, but I mean we do wear hats once in a while. So the fact that Chad Gable beat Rey Mysterio is not the big deal. The fact that the match was top tier, like Chad Gable at his best, Rey Mysterio at his best at 51 or 52, like guy has not lost a step. Like he looked better tonight than he did in the last 3-4 years even, and he's the GM in AAA. But I mean, it's good because it gets eyes, and it's good to have that name. But I mean, maybe he can only wrestle a few, once every couple months, which is fine. Because if he only wrestles once every couple months, and this is the wrestling we get, let Rey Mysterio wrestle once every couple months, because that means that he can his body can recover. He can go through. He can take the bumps. Like I was talking with Dijak last week about taking bumps, and he said, being 39, and wrestling 12 to 15 matches a week now, or a month now, whereas opposed to if he was in WWE or would return or do that kind of stuff, they wrestle maybe 4 or 5 times a month, and that kind of schedule is better for your body because then you can wrestle longer. And so he loves wrestling, but he wants to wrestle longer. And I was like, well, I mean, if he makes it to 49, but doing 15 matches a month, you might make it to 45, so. But also at the same time, knock on wood, he's only had like barely one injury for a couple months when he was NXT, and other than that, he's done great and very healthy. So if a guy like Rey Mysterio can go and he knows how many matches he has left in him, let's say he knows he has 10 left, spread those 10. spread those 10 over the next 3 years, and that way we have Rey Mysterio for 3 years instead of getting those 10 matches out of the way, and something could go wrong in one of those 10 matches, and then now that's cut short, So Roman Reigns had to come out, and again, the whole heel face thing. Obviously, people like Roman, so they cheer. But then the Usos come out, and they're just dastardly little freaking coyotes next to him. And then Jacob stands there, and that was the interesting part of tonight. That as much as I hate the Roman Reigns segment, in my mind, I'm like, okay, as long as LA Knight's included, and that's the loophole. WWE is screwing me over with the loophole. They know I like LA Knight. They know I like to see LA Knight in a prominent position. So like, well, he hates Roman at the end of the show. What if we put LA Knight in this segment? He's not going to hate that. He wants to see LA Knight. It's like, well, you're right. Stupid WWE getting it right. But they called out Solo, and I didn't really think about it until you can kind of tell where they were going. That I thought like, oh, bring Solo back to the family. I'm like, well, Solo would reluctantly join, kind of like Jacob did. But Jacob was Roman's lapdog after those matches, and he's just been there. But Solo came back, and Solo, it was very reminiscent of the Sami Zayn turn at Royal Rumble. So they had LA Knight all beat up and held, and then, oh, Solo, you better do something about it. And then instead of hitting him, Solo hit Roman. And then the Usos stood there bewildered, like, oh, what do we do? Well, no, he hit our Triple Chief. But then Jacob just stood in the corner and did nothing, because Roman told him to do nothing. So, and he's getting sick of the Usos. And the Usos got their own fancy necklaces, and you could see Jacob visually on his face was, I thought I was this guy. Like, why are these guys didn't do shit? Like, I helped them, and now they're getting praise. Like, so obviously something's gonna happen there. There's some dissension. I thought it for a moment that Jacob might help Solo and LA Knight, and then there, you got 3-on-3. But then you got Royce Keys still that can come back. So that's another War Games match you can build to. So, but who's gonna join the Bloodline? And Zilla Fatu just showed up in NXT, and Grayson Waller's yelling and screaming about him being a Nepo Oos or whatever the fuck he said on the live show. And actually, speaking of Grayson Waller, he had an interaction with CM Punk down there. Speaking of CM Punk, he got power bombed by Michael Lockwood. So they had an NXT live show, I think, on Saturday, and it was in can't remember where it was, but Punk was advertised to be there, and so Punk had a match on an NXT house show. He got power bombed by the strong woman there, and in a backstage segment, cut off Grayson Waller and had a fucking back and forth with Grayson Waller. I was like, that's how you do an NXT house show. So I'm excited to see what I'm going to get, because it's a WWE house show. But I mean, there's advertises. I can't remember the match. It's Cody. There's a triple threat. I hope it's not Cody, Gunther, Sammy, because that's just, I've seen it already. But there's a lot of names announced, and so like Kevin Owens, like I think out of like everyone that's been announced, I've seen 3 of them. Like I've seen Natalya because she's always here in Calgary, and I've seen damn, I can't even remember. I'd have to look at the match card, but maybe I'll pull it up and put it on. So people can see. And so Solo turns on Roman. Well, didn't turn on Roman. He didn't accept that they wanted him to do what they wanted him to do. And a beautiful, beautiful moment where they fought off the Usos. LA Knight was doing okay. And Jacob just stands there, does nothing. And LA Knight's kind of standoffish, or Solo. They don't know what to do. And I thought Roman was going to set up to do a spear, and they were going to move out of the way, and he was going to hit Jacob. Or do the Superman punch and hit Jacob. But he went to do the Superman punch, and I can't remember exactly how it went down, but it was a way where LA Knight was spun him around, and LA Knight got to hit Roman with a BFT and stand tall. And then LA Knight and Solo decided, okay, we're buddies, we got this, and they left. And Jacob just stood there, and the Usos were all taken out, and Roman was down in the ring. So they actually made it interesting. They actually make it look like LA Knight has a chance, and just give him the chance. Like I said, all these people are building up to pass the torch. You need to pass. Like, Roman isn't as old as some of these other guys like Randy and Punk and all them, but I mean, he's kind of getting to that point where, we don't need him all the time. And the whole bloodline thing, I mean, and Jay was doing main event and singles stuff, and now he's back to the Usos and back to me. He took a lot of steps backwards, but it works for him right now. Jacob, a lot of stuff makes no sense because he was a beast, and then he just submitted to Roman, and now he just stood there and let Roman get hurt. So whatever they're doing is going somewhere, as long as it leads to LA Knight beating Roman Reigns. Joker, what do you think of Bloodline 4.5?
I give it like a 2 out of 10.
I don't want your rating. I want to know what you think about the fact that this is like another version of a version of a version of. It's like the NWO, but less people.
I think as long as it goes somewhere, I'm fine with seeing it again. I'm loving Solo so far as a babyface.
Solo's
Him
great,
in LA, yep, like together are fantastic. They kind of
but they
remind
have to
me
come out on
of
top. That's the thing. They have to come out on
right.
top.
They have to,
Yeah.
like they really do. But if they don't, what do you do? Like you can't not let them come out on top at this because it would be a very moot.
Right.
But it's WWE. It anything can really happen. But one thing I do hope that happens.
Just one thing.
LA, yes, and it's the
You only
major
hope
thing
one
is
thing. You only hope one
LA.
thing happens.
Yeah, and that's LA becoming the
Can you
world
yell L.A. more at
heavyweight
me? L.A. L.A.
champ.
Joker, I hear you. I hear you. But what I'm saying is, you only want one thing to happen. You just want one thing, and you're good. Just one.
Yeah, just one.
Just one, and then done. You don't like things in threes for some reason. I figured threes was more your style.
No, no, no. I'm tired of the trilogies. I'm tired of the threes. I just want a good,
You don't want a triple
a good.
threat. You don't want a triple threat trilogy by Triple H.
No, I just want a good, old-fashioned, one and done style wrestling. Like if you want to bring the feud back later and have a second match,
I'm sure you
great.
do.
A third one, no, get that out of here. Off is where that can go. The direction.
That's the direction. It sure is. That's it for the crazy week in WWE. That's for sure. But Sky. Oh, there it is. Okay. And for those of you that have been following me in all sorts of places, and obviously on YouTube and stuff, like I did say, I did record the audiobook for the book series I'm writing, which is available on Amazon, and the audiobook is on Audible, and we are going to play part of that for you right now. Chapter 1. Stillness. The rain didn't fall so much as it possessed the air. It hung as a thick, motionless silver mist that refused to obey gravity, soaking fabric and chilling skin without ever actually washing the grime from the pavement. This was a city drowning in suspension. Wet paper and plastic debris were caught mid-tumble along the jagged curbs, held in place like they had simply chosen to die there. The wind had long since given up trying to move them. Night was endless, swallowing the skyline whole. Even the ambient light seemed to hesitate, pulling weakly where it could, and giving up where it couldn't. No sound. It was dead, heavy silence that pressed against the eardrums. Movement had stepped aside to let absolute stillness take its throne. Even when the clocks tried to insist otherwise, it was obvious. Time had weakened, losing its grasp long ago, no longer in control. Yesterday was not going to change. Tomorrow was never coming. Today was all that existed. The surrounding buildings leaned inward as if conspiring in the dark, their massive concrete brows casting deep shadows over the street. Their windows were like eyes, either blackened out and hollow, or dimmed with a sickly, weak jaundiced yellow hidden beneath layers of decades-old grime-streaked glass. Traffic lights remained caught mid-change, yellows bleeding into reds, those same reds never daring to give way to green. Crosswalk signals couldn't choose between the glowing white silhouette of walk and the ominous orange hand of don't walk. No one could cross anyway. People were simply occupying space, blending in with the usual inanimate objects, neither alive nor dead, simply caught mid-motion. A woman with her mouth open in the shape of a word she would never finish. A man turned halfway toward a voice that would never reach him. His arms outstretched, eyes unfocused. Their lives had been abruptly put on standby in the infinite space between before and after. Pain never arrived, but neither did relief. Long before the world had caught its breath and held it, this city had started to neglect its various regions. Slums replaced video stores, malls, and arcades. Advancements in society leaving behind these ghosts of the past. They were all left behind, dark, dingy, and forgotten by design. The city still functioned, but only in broken fragments. Power hummed somewhere deep underground. A low vibration could be felt more in the soles of the feet than heard, no longer feeding the city. Whatever should have followed simply didn't. The broken television monitors replayed nothing of importance. Garbled static and corrupted data looped endlessly, trapped in the same nightmare as everything else. This wasn't a place where things ended. It was the end of beginning. The world was held in a tense suspension, waiting for some force to decide whether it was worth continuing. Above this all, the phantom rain hung, staring endlessly. It was as if even the sky was unsure whether to let go. Then, something moved. It wasn't a trick of the light, or the rain finally succumbing to gravity. It was something else. Something deliberate. A lone figure walked through the paused street. He navigated the obstacle course of hanging paper and people caught mid-step with practiced ease. As his boots clicked against the concrete, he stopped, spotting a fresh splash of graffiti on a crumbling brick wall. A bold silver-blue logo bled through the rain. The symbol had been appearing everywhere lately. Fractured. It was a warning or a claim of ownership. To the initiated, that mark meant one thing: vein shard territory. The fractured were leaving their signatures behind on the bones of the old world. Vein shard was the slang street dwellers used for those who had survived the failed Project Helix mirror experiments. The program had been abruptly shut down and buried after a massive containment breach at the docks years ago, leaving these altered souls in its wake. The figure looked up, his gaze traveling toward the far distance where Virex Systems stood. It was an ugly stamp of a building flanked by 2 smoke towers. The smoke didn't rise. It sat in thick, marble-like plumes atop the chimneys like paused pillars of gray. The architecture was industrial, commercial, and residential, all wrapped up into one looming monstrosity that brooded over the city. It looked like something ripped straight out of an alternate 1985. Loud, vertically aggressive, and built specifically to remind the citizens who owned them. Virex burned in a bright, oppressive neon at the very top, designed to be visible from any corner of the city. But tonight, the building looked hollow. The windows were black, the sprawling office floors were unlit, and the glowing brand at its crown floated above the city like a scar rather than a beacon of hope. It was cold, untouched, a reflection of the truth within. The figure stepped forward, his boot coming down directly into a puddle. Instead of ripples, the water splashed upward and simply hung in the air, attaching itself to his laces in gravity-defying droplets before being left behind as he moved out of the impact zone. He was headed directly toward the towers of Virex Systems, but a sudden, violent sensation stopped him in his tracks. He stumbled, his shoulder hitting the cold brick of a building, bracing himself against the wall. It wasn't physical. It was mental. Grimacing, he raised his hand to his goggles. They were unique, shaped like a glowing purple infinity symbol set inside a black, bottomless void that held them fast to his face. The purple glow was intensifying, pulsing in sync with his quickening heartbeat. Movement was being captured, but it wasn't happening here. It was a shift felt, but not yet realized, a ripple somewhere in time. He looked back up at the towering Virex monolith. For now, the building would have to wait. Something had changed in the fabric of the city, something that would change everything. He looked down at his own hands. A faint, ethereal light began to bleed out from inside his clenched fist, fighting back the dark. Like the hands of a clock aligning, he positioned his arms. His palms went flat. His other hand answered the call, sharing the strange, vibrant glow. The purple infinity symbol in his goggles flared a brilliant, blinding violet. He let out a heavy, tired sigh into the dead, silent air. It's happening again.